I was one of those young people that wasn't paying attention in the early 80s, and they changed those rules. So let me at least grab my pension money until I wait for Social Security. I have no plans to retire for real, at least for the next 10 years or so. And if I'm still having fun, I will go longer than that. If I'm not having fun, pastoring and being with people and celebrating Eucharist for you and just being a presence of hope, love, and understanding, then it's time to shut the door, call it quits, and move on, or as I like to say, right into the sunset. So I'm not going anywhere for a long time. Second thing, it appears that there has been some misinterpretation regarding what Connie from the bishop's office said to our call committee and council regarding the shortage of pastors. In previous years, when there wasn't a shortage, the bishop's office could discern 2, 3, even more, and ask the call committee to interview those individuals and to select from them. There is a significant decline of new ordinations. In fact, in the Florida Bahamas Synod, there is a significant numbers of churches that are being pastored, whether part-time, interim basis, or full-time, by retired clergy. So, you're not going to get 2 or 3 candidates at a time. From what I understand from the Connie and the bishop's office, is they will submit 1 candidate at a time, asking the call committee to speak to that individual, to he, she, they, them, and to discern whether or not that person meets what the church has identified as leadership strengths and what they desire in a pastor. If they reject an individual, you will be sent another individual once they can identify somebody. May not be quick, but they certainly will work towards identifying someone. Also, I want you to know that I understand that our desire to share all of the results that were compiled during our interviews has not happened. So I want to apologize for that. It hasn't happened, quite frankly, because we've been short-staffed in the office. And for good reason. We have baby Joshua now as part of the family, and Trisha as a mom, and Miguel as a dad of 3 rather than 2. So that's on my list. I want you to know that Sharon Sahidi, Julie Smith, and Mary Beth have all spent time together looking at every detail that we said. They simply put it into categories, and all of your comments have not been edited. They simply were put into the report. I promise you that we will get that in the connector within the next couple of weeks. Other than the thank you for your support, I know that there is no perfect pastor. I certainly have never saw myself as a perfect pastor. Indeed, I've mentioned to you many times my flaws as a human being. So, if you are expecting the call committee to come up with the perfect pastor, you're going to be sadly disappointed. They're going to come up with an individual who has limitations, who has strengths in one area and maybe some deficiencies or another, or needs to build them up. But God uses human people like me, even in our human frailty and deficiencies, to offer some love, some grace, some compassion and mercy to all of you and to themselves and to anyone that walks in our door or that we go out into the community and find out. Actually, there is one big thing that I do want to say to you. I was asked recently, what advice would I give to the new pastor in the church once they are identified? So let me be very justo and very direct. Demographics demonstrate and show us that 25% of our neighbors are Latinx. Having or calling a monolingual pastor will not serve you well and will, quite frankly, possibly lead to the end of Redeemer's sustainability and ministry. You need a bilingual, bicultural person, someone like me without a heavy accent, someone who knows the community, and you need that individual to start out basically in 3 areas. Number 1, they need to go into the community and establish relationships with neighborhood associations, with community groups, and identify the local faith-based community organization. In Buffalo is Voice Buffalo, and my church was one of the founders of that far before I arrived. They are experts at community organizing around issues. A smart pastor would involve themselves and those who want to volunteer in some of that work. And most importantly, that team, that pastor, will invite others to join us at the church to have their meetings and not charge them a cent. Build relationships and they will come. That's 1. Number 2, you need a bilingual pastor so that you can start identifying those individuals and begin the process of getting to know the neighborhood and starting Bible studies or conversations on topics related to community that can happen in people's homes, and build that one into more cell groups or small groups. And then after they establish that relationships and you've identified 25, 50 people that are related to the church somehow and want to be involved, then that individual would be very wise to start a second service in Spanish or bilingual, given the fact that first gens, especially of immigrants, tend not to speak English very well, but their kids and their grandkids will, and they will be bilingual. So we have to have the flexibility to meet the needs of the generation that's now in charge in Latinx communities, but also of the generation that is bilingual, bicultural, and no longer sees Mexico or Central America as their primary home, but have become enculturated in our American society. Number 3, there are resources both at the national and our Synod to help create new vital ministries that lead us in a new direction. I would tap into the funds if I was here full time. That requires us to be creative. Those funds cannot be used to pay a pastor or support a pastor's package, but if we can use those $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to cover some of the church-related expenses, to establishing these small community groups, that would be a blessing. And if whoever leads it, is meeting in the church, then some of that money can be used to pay the rent or the light, and create a new community while also supporting our existing community. If you don't have to spend $40,000 on air conditioning, but only have to spend $30,000, that allows for $10,000 more to be used wherever the church needs it. So there are strategic reasons that I say these three things are essential. But a fourth thing is also essential. It is not only Latinx people that need our ministry. Our older populations are losing their husbands, their wives, their partners, their significant ones. And oftentimes, friends melt away, and they need desperately community to be involved in, to embrace them, to make them feel whole. So I would encourage you to be on the lookout and inviting people from your retirement homes or from the neighborhood that you live, or people of your age or interest, so that we can grow that. Everyone wants a white picket fence, mom and dad, 2.5 kids, and a pet. The reality is, a lot of those people are called knowns. They are people that are disenfranchised, that no longer see the value in religion or community, so they're harder to crack. But people that are our age and that are our friends, that's one place to start. Latinx community outreach is another place to start. So that's my advice to you. This pastor would hand that over to the next pastor, should they ask. And some pastors don't. But if they ask, I'll be as honest as I am with you. I love you. I ask for forgiveness if I have failed you, or if you don't see me being the person that you thought that I was. I ask your forgiveness. To those of you who thought I was a dud and didn't want to be involved with me because I wasn't Stan, I appreciate you who have come on board and recognized that I am a sincere person, trying to do what God has called me to do, and most importantly, working towards the long-term sustainability of Redeemer Lutheran Church. That doesn't mean we're always going to agree, but it also doesn't mean that we have to fight. We can, as reasonable people, come up with reasonable solutions and do God's will and work together. Love you. Have a great day.